A warm welcome to all of you who are here to actually learn about how to crack the GMAT Focus scoring algorithm. This is going to be a very enlightening session where I'm going to give you some great insights into how really the scoring algorithm is working. And if you understand the scoring algorithm well, you will have the potential of boosting your score up by 40, 50 points just by understanding the scoring algorithm better. Because I've seen a lot of people not doing that, and my students have improved their scores all the way from 79 on verbal to 86 on verbal in just 15 days because of some of these amazing tips that I'm going to give you today. So, what's in store for you? So, a lot of people had a lot of concerns. Some of the key concerns that I hear from students are that I always feel time crunch towards the end of the test. How should I pace myself? Like, what should my pacing be? Like, should I pace myself linearly? Should I go top heavy? Should I have enough time for the end? How should I be pacing myself? So, my focus is going to be around 40-50% of the test, like the session is going to be focused on the pacing part. I'll talk a lot about the pacing part. A lot of people don't understand how the GMAT focus scoring is working. A lot of people don't understand how adaptive is the GMAT focus test algorithm, right? Is it really adaptive, or is it not as adaptive as the previous version? A lot of people don't understand how do I improve the average time spent per question, and a lot of people don't know how to tackle test day anxiety as well, because of which they make a lot of silly mistakes under pressure. So I'm going to cover all these important concerns through the different data points that we're going to, case studies that we're going to discuss today. Okay, but we'll start with a quick intro, just 2 minute intro about what we do at GMATWhiz. So we are world's only truly personalized GMAT course where we have ingrained personalization in our DNA. So imagine if you work with GMATWhiz online course, you will get a personalized study plan for every single week, which will tell you exactly what you need to do. And as you perform on the platform in real time, you'll get improvement modules. So based on how you perform, the platform is going to give you some improvement modules in real time by automatically identifying your gaps, your weaknesses in real time. And then you also get a dedicated mentor whom you can connect with every 10 to 15 days for a 15-20 minute discussion around your strategy focus. So it's a strategy focus discussion that you can do with a mentor who will help you understand where should your focus area be in the next 10-15 days. So basically this entire gamut of services, like an amazing content with personalized study plan and real-time improvement modules with a personalized mentor, a dedicated mentor given to you, you are able to do your really well on the GMAT. And that's why many of our students have scored 735, 715, 705, and all those scores in the very first attempts with GMATWhiz. So if you're interested in knowing more about our services, or check out our free trial also, I'll just pass on a link really quickly in the chat. So in case you are looking at checking out our free trial, you can always click on the link and basically check out our free trial over here. Okay, so I'll just give you the link, guys, in the meantime. So let's get going into the session now. So what are you going to learn today? I'll just quickly talk about the structure of the session so that you have an idea about how we are proceeding through the session, basically. So firstly, we will be taking a case study approach. So I'm not just going to tell you certain things that I feel are right. I'll present you case studies. I'll present you why I feel the way I feel, and I'll give you decent number of case studies with very telling data points which will expose the real nature of the test, and you'll be able to understand a lot about it. Using these case studies, we'll talk about the timing strategy for DI. Now, the reason I'm starting with data insights is it's a new introduction on the test, right? It's a new section on the test. And this is a section which is actually, if you do a survey, like again, I've not done this survey myself, but I speak to 5 new people every single day for sure. So when I speak to these people, data insights is like the most common area where people struggle. Like more than 90% people struggle with data insights. So we'll start with the data insights section, the most complicated section, I would say, at present that is there in the GMAT. And then we'll talk about the timing strategy for verbal, timing strategy for quant, and then I'll open up it for some additional tips, in general tips, and question and answers. But just to be clear, guys, I'm saying question and answers in the end doesn't mean that I'm going to take your questions only in the end. So keep bombarding the questions. I'm always open to those questions. Please feel free to ask them. When I say Q&A in the end, that's an open-ended Q&A, which you can ask about other things also. You can talk about maybe GMATWhiz also if you want to. You want to talk about other aspects of GMAT, feel free to ask me those questions in the end. That's the open-ended Q&A portion. But feel free to ask me any other questions related to the discussion that we are having. at that very moment. I love it when you ask that, like talk about that. Definitely, Victoria. I love to talk about the section order. In fact, that's one of the things I would cover as part of the additional tips. So glad to hear that you really want to hear about it as well. Any other questions you guys have, please keep it posting them here. If I am not going to cover this as part of the PPT, I'll definitely take them up as we move forward. So I'll keep a note of those and definitely take them up. So feel free to ask any questions, any concerns that you have. Okay, so let's get going, guys. So how does the GMAT algorithm work? And there's no better way than starting with a case study. So I'll start with my own case study. But yes, one question to start with. Okay, how do you think smart students plan their test? Do they plan their test in a way that they have enough time for all the questions, or they plan their test in a way that they fall short of time in the last 4 to 5 questions? Just give this a thought, guys. Just give this a thought. And I'll tell you my answer. Okay. Like if you're targeting up to a 98, 99 percentile on GMAT, the second option is a better option for verbal and DI rather than the first one. The first one is a better option for quant, but not always as well. Okay. So I'm more inclined towards the second one. If you're a smart student, that's how you will take the test. And that's going to be the crux of this entire session. You'll get to understand this by the end of the session and throughout the session as well, through the data points and the case studies that I'm going to give you. Okay, seems counterproductive, right? Like you would ideally want to have enough time for all questions, but you can get to a 98, 99 percentile easily with the second approach, and it's a smarter approach than the first one. Trust me, I'll give you data points to help you understand that. Okay, so the first case in point. Now this case in point is my own case in point. This is my own test that I took, my very first GMAT attempt, when I was reaching towards the end of the verbal section. Now this is from the old GMAT format. Okay, but what I'm going to talk about the case study over here is equally true for the GMAT Focus, and we are going to take more case studies of GMAT Focus as well. But please understand this case study is equally true. So this is very important. Please hear me out. So towards the end of the verbal section, when I had completed 22 questions. So in the old format, there used to be 36 questions. Okay. I looked at my clock and I saw I have 14 questions remaining to be attempted, and there were just 19 minutes left on the clock. Okay. Now, if you do the math, you will understand I did not even have 1.5 minutes per question. I was left with only 1.4 minutes per question. That was like too less a time for me to be able to attempt all questions. And to my agony, GMAT gave me a RC passage which was very weird, very convoluted. I still remember the entire passage, almost the entire passage, the context of it. What was it talking about? It was about some medieval age nurses, doctors, and how they started, what happened. And it was a 4-para passage, 4-para long passage. There were like almost 2 entire scrolls that the passage was standing for. I read the first para in about 30 seconds. I was like, honestly, completely panicked at that stage. I rushed through the first para, read it in 30 seconds. I did not understand anything except for the fact that it's talking about nurses and doctors. That's it. I had no idea what is happening. Now, at that point of time, I was faced, I was in front of me. I had a choice. What do I do? I could skip some of the questions, do them half-heartedly. I could do the RC well and be selective in the last 10 questions, or I could simply skip the passage and focus on getting the last 10 questions right. Now, what would you have done had you been at my place? Like, again, remember, 14 questions, 19 minutes, and I have 30 seconds already spent, and I'm taking a break. I took a 20-second break or 30-second break to decide this. So eventually, I'm left with 14 questions, 18 minutes. If you were at my place, which of these 3 options would you take? A, B, or C? Let me know your thought, guys. Would love to hear it from you. Which of these options will you take? So Aura says, my biggest fear is quants. Yeah, I can totally relate to it. Like a lot of people, because of the new changes in quant section, it has definitely become much more important if you really want to score high. And that's something which is very critical. So definitely I'm going to talk about that, Aura, as well. Hi, Ibrahim. Great to hear from you. So guys, which option will you go for? Okay, I am getting the questions. Heyman says C. Victoria says I would do A, I think. Okay, Victoria, thank you so much for that. What about others? I have over 35 of you. Just 2 responses, guys. Let's watch it up. Let's put more responses here. No worries about the right or wrong answers, guys. Okay, it's important that you share your thoughts. I would like to hear your thoughts, and I will present my thoughts as to how I thought. and what results it yielded me. Okay, D says I will go for C. So I have two people for C. One person, Abrar, says I'll go for B. Oh, thank you, Abrar. I am not gonna feel alone now. At least like I decided for B. I'll come to it why I decided for B. But Ibrahim, Prasanna are also going for A. So I think A is the winner, hands down. Victoria, Ibrahim, and Prasanna. Three of you are going for A. One person for B, and a couple of them for C. Okay, Rajnish has joined me. Rajnish, I hope it's not cheating, right? You have done your groundwork and telling me your personal preference. Okay, I see all of a sudden B's are coming in. More B's are coming in after I said I'm going for. I decided for B. Okay, that's good. Okay, but I hope you guys are taking the decision voluntarily. It's not biased by me saying B is the right one. Okay, good. Thank you so much, guys. Really helpful to see your thoughts on this. I'll tell you how I thought. So in those 20-30 seconds that I took that strategic pause, and it is very important for you to understand this. A lot of people under the pressured situation, they just keep taking the test linearly. They just push themselves. I realize that I'm actually pushing myself too hard and I'm not understanding anything I'm reading. So in this 20 seconds, I put my pen down and literally leaned back on my chair and I closed my eyes. I was completely relaxed at that stage. And I was just thinking about what I should be doing. And I evaluated the options. I first of all evaluated choice A. What happens if I skip some of the questions or do them half-heartedly? Now, one thing you need to understand is that GMAT is an adaptive test. Now, imagine it this way, that if I'm seeing a passage which is convoluted and weird. And again, I was a prepared test taker. Just to give you an idea, the mock that I took right before my GMAT attempt was a 760, okay, which is like the 99th percentile on GMAT. So I got a like equivalent of GMAT Focus would be 715. Okay, so I got that kind of a score. So I was a prepared test taker. I was not someone who was randomly taking the test. So if I'm feeling a question or a passage to be difficult, there is a high likelihood that it is actually difficult. Now, if it is an actually difficult question, that means the GMAT algorithm has given me this question because I'm doing well in the test. And probably that's the reason I'm getting this hard question. Now, imagine it this way. I've put a lot of hard work to come to a point where I'm getting hard questions now. And again, this is from GMAT Classic, but equally true for GMAT Focus, by the way, guys. So I am doing really well till this point. It would be really foolish of me to actually not do these high value questions correctly, because obviously these are high value questions. And if I am getting these questions wrong, it's not just that I'm getting the high value questions wrong. The bigger problem is I'm saving time for questions which are going to be of lower value, right? Because obviously the algorithm, if I get the hard questions wrong, will push me back to the easier questions then, correct? So that's how the algorithm will function. So I thought this is like just foolishness, right? All the effort I have put in to get to a harder difficulty level, I'm gonna just run it down the drain by skipping these 4 questions to save time for the next 10 questions, which was completely a wrong thought according to me. And I'm sure had I gone ahead with this thought, I would have ended up with the 80th percentile, because I've seen people getting to that score by making this wrong decision at that point of time. So what did I do? I decided to go with option B. I said, no, I'm going to do this RC well. I'm going to get this right. And I got all the 4 questions right when I looked at my scorecard at the end, the detailed scorecard that GMAT sends me. And I got this high value questions right, because of which the next set of questions which are given to me, the last 10 questions which are given to me, were higher value. And obviously, I had just 10 minutes remaining for the last 10 questions. So I couldn't do all the questions properly. I did only 6 of those questions properly in those 10 minutes. And the remaining 4 questions I just randomly guessed. And my score was 94th percentile. Imagine that. And honestly, what was the game changer between the 90th percentile and 97th percentile score? Because if my verbal had been at 80th percentile instead of 94th percentile, my overall score would have been stuck at a 90th percentile and ended up scoring a 97th percentile. The only difference between these 2 scores was that 20-second strategic pause. And I was able to get 40 points higher because of just pausing for those 20 seconds and taking the right decision. A lot of you don't do that. Tell me, how many of you take these strategic pauses in the test if you have actually taken a mock test? And when I say pause, it's not like pausing the timer. You can't pause the timer. Understand that. You are taking a break in between the test when the timer is running to get out of that pressure. How many of you have tried this? A quick yes, no will really help. Let me see what you guys think. And if you have not done this, don't stay silent. A no is also good as an answer. Because see, I work with so many students. I've like helped hundreds of students do well in just the last year. And I sit with them in mocks. I rarely see people doing this. Less than 5% people consciously take strategic pauses. And that's a game changer. I'm not sure how many of you do it. Okay, I see Victoria, Rhythm, and Arshdeep, all of you saying no. It's a very common mistake. Now, I'm not sure if you guys watch sports, sports you guys watch. There are strategic timeouts in basketball. There are strategic timeouts in cricket. Like, I'm not sure, like the people who are from India, probably you know IPL. If you have seen, after those strategic timeouts, teams suddenly start doing differently, basically. Because when you are in the game, you're too engrossed in it, you're not able to look at it from a strategic point of view. But these pauses really, really help you. And there is a very simple mathematical answer to this also. Imagine you have 10 minutes remaining and 10 questions. If you are under pressure, your mind is working at 50% capacity, then you're going to utilize only 5 minutes out of this 10 minutes. But if you take a 30-second break, then you're left with 9.5 minutes. Even if your brain is now working at 80% capacity, 80% capacity of 9.5 minutes is going to be much higher than the 50% capacity, right? So understand this. Vedant says, I got a 98 percentile just because I paused and actually read the question slowly. Such a great point, thought Vedant. So thank you for validating what I'm saying. I'm really happy to see that some other people have also achieved this. So this is very important, guys. Okay. But what I want you to also understand is how the GMAT algorithm is working. You shouldn't compromise on the earlier questions to save time for the end of the test. A lot of people keep telling me, Piyush, you know what? I've seen this in this place or that place, that you know what? It depends on your score depends on where you end the test. Trust me, guys, that's complete lie. Again, I shouldn't say it's like it's wrong, but it is it in a way where you end the test is not driven by the last 10 questions or last 5 questions. It's driven by the entire test. In fact, it's more driven by the beginning of the test. And let me give you an example to help you understand this. Okay, let's take a very simple example. I don't want you to think about 20 questions, 25 questions, 30 questions. Let's think of 5 questions. Okay, so what I'm showing you is a simplified example, not exact replica of GMAT. I'll tell you the difference between the simplified example and the GMAT also. Okay, but let's understand the simplified example first. So let's say everyone usually starts the test at a medium level. Okay, you get a medium level question. You get the medium level question right. The next question which is given to you is a medium hard question. You get that question right. The next level question is given to you is a hard question. You get that question right. Next question you get is a hard question. Let's say you get that wrong. The next question that is given to you is a medium hard question. All right. Now, if you notice carefully, this guy's accuracy, can you look at his accuracy and tell me what is his accuracy and what is his score? Like the scores are over here for each question type. Just do this calculation, guys. I want you to calculate the accuracy and score of this guy. Okay. Okay. So if you calculate it, you'll see 3 plus 4 plus 5, 12 points, 60% accuracy. Now let's look at another person. He also starts at the medium level. Okay. But instead of getting the first question correct, he gets it wrong. So the test brings him down to easy medium level. He gets the next question wrong. The test brings him down to easy level. He gets this one right. Test brings him up to easy medium. He gets this one right. The test brings him up to a medium level. But in this case, the score is only 6 points with the exact same accuracy. Imagine the difference. 12 points versus 6 points. Same accuracy, guys. I'm not talking about different accuracies. I'm talking about the exact same accuracy having such a different result. The only difference between this and the actual GMAT is this is even more like inflated by the GMAT, because GMAT works on a very simple principle. If you are getting down to an easy medium level, you need to give more evidence to GMAT that you are capable of getting harder questions right to get out of that range. What I'm trying to say is, if you ever get to easy medium level range, it is not like one question you can get right and the next question is going to be easy medium or medium. They would want you to get more questions right because they work on this concept that it's easier to get easy questions correct. So for them to be certain that your capability is of higher difficulty level, if you ever come down to the level of this by virtue of making mistakes in the beginning, GMAT would want you to toil hard and get a lot of questions correct to be able to come back to medium level. So it's possible that you never get out of the medium level. So all those horror stories that you hear, right? People making just 1 or 2 mistakes and getting a very low percentile or 70th percentile or 60th percentile. Those are the stories where they make mistakes in the very beginning of the test and they go down to the easy, medium range. So it's a very bad place to be, basically. Okay, you don't want to be stuck in that quicksand where you will just drown, basically. So you don't, that's a very risky spot to be in. So in GMAT, this is even more inflated. The other difference in GMAT is they don't look at your adaptability after every question. Okay, they look at a block of 3-4 questions. So it's not like after every question the difficulty level will change. They look at first, my understanding says and my research says it's a block of 3 questions that they look at. And the first block is the most critical block in the GMAT focus, at least it's the most critical block. So it's not like if a difficulty level of a block is medium, all the questions are medium in that block. The average difficulty level is medium. So it's possible that towards the end, when you are like, let's say, even doing well, you might as well get an easy question. Your overall block difficulty level is hard, but there is one easy, medium, or medium question in that. So you should not think, okay, my test is going poorly. That's not the right thing. You look at the overall difficulty. So they look at the block difficulty level, not individual difficulty level. All right, guys. Now, yeah, so Arshdeep says, sometimes I get initial 2-3 questions wrong in Quant and percentile drops 40-50 at times despite getting 17-18 questions right. So Arshdeep, you're just telling exactly what I was telling the audience about. So first 2-3 wrong in Quant is a crime, guys. You cannot do that. Any question in the first 3 wrong is a crime in Quant. And again, what's the difference in other sections? I'll be definitely talking about that as well. So let's take GMAT actual data. You all are ready? So let's start with a quiz. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question and I want all of you to get me the answer to this question. Okay, so the question is going to come in red on your screen now. How many questions are there on the data insight sections of GMAT? Can you guys tell me how many questions are there on data insight section of GMAT? Very easy question, guys. I want you to answer me. 20 questions. Vibhor is the first one. Okay, what about others? Let's see who gets this right. Okay, Victoria, Dinesh, Arshdeep, Nikunj, Hemant, all of you say 20. Rajesh is saying 21. Okay. Shuk says it's 30 questions. Oh my God. Free Soul says 18. So I have a new answer, 18. And only one person saying less than 20. Okay. No one knows, Abhishek says. Okay. Thank you for being sarcastic, Abhishek. So it's 20 questions on the GMAT Focus Data Insight section. But what if I tell you that in reality, it has just 15 to 16 questions? It doesn't have 20 questions. No, it shows it has 20 questions, but in reality, it doesn't have 20 questions. It has just 15, 16 questions. Now, that's a very complex thought as of now. Right now, it seems like a complex thought. But let me explain that to you. Why I say that DI of GMAT has just 15, 16 questions, the data is telling me that. When I look at the data of so many students, I come to this inference every single time. That is just 15, 16 questions. So bear with me and you will understand this in another 10 minutes. And this will etch very well in your memory why I showed you this. Look at this scorecard, guys. Okay. This guy, and this is a data insight scorecard. Okay. You look at this scorecard, and I'm going to just go full screen on this so that you can look at this properly. And if anyone is seeing hazy screens, just change the video settings to HD. You'll be able to see this really, really well. So you look at the scorecard. This guy has made 7 errors in the entire data insight section. I want you to predict the DI score of this person. I want you to predict. I know I am asking a lot of questions, guys, but that just like makes it so very interactive, so much fun to kind of speak and talk about it. So do share your thoughts. What do you think is the DI score of this guy? 7 mistakes, 20 questions. You have the pattern in front of you. His actual scorecard. What do you think is the DI score? Okay, Vibhor is first to answer again. Great, Vibhor. 84 to 85 is what Vibhor says. What about others? What do you think, guys? 7 mistakes out of 20. 85, 86. Okay. Great. Matteo says it's 77. Arshdeep says 80 at most. Okay. Dudo, no, sorry, I'm not able to pronounce the name right. Please pardon me for that. I'll just call you Dudo. Dudo says 80. Rajneesh also comes with 80. Okay, so I have a good number of people going with 80. Ibrahim says 90. Okay, 90 is a perfect score, Ibrahim. You can't get there with mistakes, like maybe one or two, but not many. His score is a 83. So yeah, so it's just right in center of most of you. So there was one section of people who were telling me 85, 86, the other section around 80. The score is 96th percentile, DI 83. Okay, now let me bring another scorecard in front of you guys. This guy has 6 mistakes. Okay, one mistake less than the previous student. One mistake less. Again, I'm repeating. 6 mistakes versus 7 mistakes. I want you to predict the score of this guy, the one on the right. Okay, what do you think is the score? The guy on the right with 6 mistakes, the first person, just for your reference, scored a 96 percentile, 83 on DI with 7 mistakes. 76 resource says, Rajneesh says 75. Why Rajneesh? Why so less? Shouldn't it be more? This guy has made one less error. Abhishek says 81. Shouldn't it be more? Since the initial question is wrong, so it will be quite less. So again, Ashdeep, first 3 questions you should not make mistakes, but it is still DI you can afford to make one error. It's not that bad in DI. It's bad in quant, it's bad in DI and verbal also, but it's not that bad. Okay, 84, 85, 70th percentile is what Ibrahim says, Vibhor says 84. Guys, this person scored only 79th percentile. The DI score was 79. Okay, DI score was 79. Guys, look at the percentile difference. And you might say, Piyush, what are we talking about? It's just 4 points, right? So 83 and 79, they're pretty close. What's the difference? Guys, 4 points in data insights means 30 to 40 points in your overall score. That's the difference between someone getting a 655 and someone getting a 695. That's the difference between you getting into Harvard and you not getting into Harvard, guys. With less mistakes, you're getting a lower score. So you're bang on right, Ibrahim. It's not consistent, so I think lower score. The guy has made mistakes in the beginning. And this is not wild, Arshdeep. This is how the algorithm is working. Right? So Rajneesh is saying harder questions are wrong. It's not harder questions are wrong, Rajneesh. He is not even able to get to very hard questions. That's the problem. So my understanding in the GMAT focus is that it doesn't punish you that much for getting too many. Like if you get too many hard questions wrong, that's a problem. But you get 1 or 2 hard questions wrong, it's not that big of an issue. You should be very consistent with easy, medium questions. That's for sure. You should be decently consistent with hard also. I'm not saying you can just get everything in hard wrong. That's wrong. You need to have a decent accuracy in hard questions as well. But the problem with the second guy is he is not even able to get the harder questions. Understand that. And look at these 3 scorecards, guys. You have the score of all 3 people on the bottom with the number of mistakes. I want you to look at these 3 scorecards. I know it's very small text right now. I wanted to squeeze in all 3 in the same screen somehow, so I had to cut down on the size, but at least the greens and reds should give an idea. I want you to look at these 3 scorecards and tell me what is the commonality that you see in all 3 of them. And by the way, all 3 have scored really well, okay? But this is 96th percentile, this is 97th percentile, and this is 98th percentile. These are really good scores. And all these scores are capable of getting you across the 700 mark very comfortably. Like when I say 700 mark, that's the 99th percentile. Okay? Like the 760 on the GMAT Classic. It's a great, great score. What is common in all 3 students? Would love to see all the analytics people responding here. Use your analytics brain. Tell me what you see. Only last few questions are wrong. Okay. Good point, Rajneesh. Happy to see that. What about others? Any thoughts? And again, guys, understanding this makes a huge, huge difference in you getting a good score. Huge difference. A lot of our students have just nailed the GMAT like anything because of this. Just understanding this, and obviously you have to prepare for it. It's not like you think, okay, you know what, I can just Piyush has given me a magic trick and I'll just try to get the initial questions right and I'll get them right and I'll get a good score. Doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You need to have the skill to get them right as well. A lot of our students have done amazing results. In fact, I'll show you, I'll give you the link to a debrief of one of my students who actually improved both his quant and verbal scores by more than 7 points in just 15 days by understanding the right strategy and preparing according to the right strategy. That's also very, very important. So watch out this video interview. It's for Shrikar. It's a very, very inspiring journey of a student who has improved verbal and quant, both sections, like drastically in just 15 days. Okay, check out the interview in your free time. You can just bookmark this link. It's there in the chat, guys. Okay, let's see the thoughts. They all started with the right answers. The questions they got wrong, but towards the end, they were hard questions. I believe they have taken more time than average to get the solutions for some questions to maintain accuracy. Shri, yeah, it's partially true, not completely true. I'll come to that. If last few were easy, it could have been otherwise for first candidate. Yeah, last few cannot be easy if you're doing the first ones right for hand. That's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to make. So if you look at all these students, let's draw a line at 2/3 of the test. So in GMAT Classic, it used to be 3/4 of the test because the questions were more. In GMAT Focus, 2/3 is the golden number of the test. Now, what is 2/3 of 20? There are 20 questions. 2/3 of 20 is basically 13. So if you draw a line at 13, and please pardon me for not being able to draw a straight line, but I hope this will still do the job, basically. So if you see to the left of the line, which is in the first 2/3 of the test and the last 1/3 of the test, none of them have made more than one mistake in the first 2/3. One mistake, and zero mistake. This guy got 6 out of 7 wrong in the last 1/3 of the test. Still gets a 96 percentile, guys. Imagine that. Still gets a 96 percentile. Now think about my question again. I asked you guys how many questions are there on GMAT Data Insight section. Remember that question? How many questions are there on the GMAT Data Insight section? I answered 15 to 16. I hope you are getting an understanding why I was saying that. See, if you are telling me that, Piyush, you know what, my target is a DI 90. I'm not going to be happy with anything less than DI 90, then sorry. For you, it's 20 questions. But if you are happy with a score of 715, which is equivalent to 760 on the GMAT Classic, which is good enough for any B school in the world, they'll even give you scholarships and welcome you with open arms. Obviously, your profile matters, your applications matter, but score-wise, that's the score that you need. If you want that kind of a score, 83, 84, 85 in GMAT DI is sufficient because you need 96 percentile across the board in all 3 sections to get a 98, 99 percentile on the GMAT complete test. That's how it works. So if you want that kind of a score, this is what is right. Now, actually, this doesn't apply to both quant and verbal. I'll come to quant and verbal separately. Don't worry, free sol, it doesn't apply to quant. It only applies to verbal and DI. Just for the record, don't get me wrong, this is just the DI part we am talking about. Bear with me, I'm going to tell you about verbal and DI quant as well. I'm not going to leave you with just DI. Okay? This is a GMAT placing strategy session. I'll talk about every area. Okay? Let's focus on DI for now. So just 15 to 16 questions. I hope you're getting this right in your head. Now, let me just reinforce this with more data. Okay? This is the scorecard of another student who worked with us, scored a 705, and you can see his scorecard. He scored a quant 95th percentile, 88 on quant. Now, I want you to look at his quant scorecard. Okay, guys? His quant scorecard is this, 88 with 2 mistakes. Now, let me tell you something. I have very rarely seen people with 2 mistakes getting quant 88. Usually, people who get 88 in quant just are allowed to make 1 mistake. That's what I've seen usually. Very rarely I've seen people with 2 mistakes getting a quant 88. He's one of them. But what I want you to focus on is the percentile. Okay. So quant 95th percentile, DI 96th percentile. This is comparable, right? Percentile simply means how many people, like the top 5% people, how are they performing? That's what the percentile tells us. Now in DI, you can make 7 mistakes and still get the same percentile, guys. In quant, you just make 2 mistakes and get the same percentile. What does this mean? Instead of me inferring, I want you to infer. You tell me, what does this mean? This simply means GMAT has created the data insight section so difficult that it's not possible to get every question right. You cannot try to get 18 right, 17 right. That's the point. That's what people are not understanding. DI questions are not designed for one to be able to solve 20 questions. And that's why I say that there are just 15 to 16 questions in DI. Just 15 to 16 questions. If you think DI has 20 questions, if you're planning for it, if you're taking the test with that mindset, my dear friend, you're not understanding the GMAT and you are gonna make some mistakes. I obviously don't want you to make those mistakes, but that's what you need to understand well. Okay, get this in your head. And if you really help, like if you got a great insight, Arshdeep, do give this video a like. I would really love that, and share it with your friends. Tell more people about this. They need to do this. Everyone needs to know this so that they are able to do well. And just a live example of this, a lot of our students have used this strategy. I'll help you understand how can you time yourself with this strategy. Okay, so let's understand. Let's draw a proper timing strategy plan of action for this. I don't want you to be hanging in the air just thinking, okay, 15, 16 questions. No, you can't just decide to do 15, 16 questions. You don't think that, okay, I've gotten a great trick today, right? I just need to do 15, 16 questions. Tomorrow I'll attempt the test, get 15, 16 questions right, and my job is done. No, you need to plan for it, do it properly. Now, how do you plan for it? So this is the pacing on DI section that I recommend. So one trend that we are seeing from the last 3 months is that the first 5 questions on DI is mostly DS. I use the word mostly because I at least have never seen a single student in last 3 months that I have interacted with getting anything but DS in the first 5 questions. That's what I have not seen. But obviously, I have not seen all the students in the world. Possibly in the last 3 months, I have looked at 300 scorecards. So 300 scorecards is not a small data point, by the way, guys. But I've always not looked at anyone, like all the people. But I have not seen a single person in those 300 scorecards who has not gotten all first 5 questions in DI as DS. Okay, so first 5 questions are DS, and usually 7 DS questions are there in the first 16. That's what we have seen mostly. So if you do DS questions and your average time per DS questions is 2 minutes, which is usually the case if you're good in DS and you're good in Quant, you can get to that level. And if you do 4 questions of TI or graphs and tables combined, and you do 5 questions of TPA and MSR combined. TPA and MSR usually takes more time, 3.5 minutes per question, and graphs and tables takes about 3 minutes per question. So if you do this math, you will realize that you can easily get to 16 questions in the test with just 43.5 minutes, which gives you around 1.5 minute extra for being able to complete the entire test by marking every answer. And don't try to be greedy. Okay, don't try to be greedy. I'll talk about Ibrahim, the section order also. Don't worry about it. The order of the sections also I'll come about, Matteo. Please bear with me. I don't want to go in a structured way. Don't want to jump onto that, to be honest, over here. So what is the test taking strategy in short for DI? If you're targeting up to a DI 85, you should focus on the first 15 to 16 questions. Basically, they matter the most for you. And I'm not saying that you give extra time to a question. If you think that by giving extra time to a question, you can get a question right, that's a very wrong thought process. I don't have a scorecard right now. I've not copy pasted it in the slide, but I have a lot of scorecards that I've seen people making this mistake of thinking I do give extra time and I get a question right. That's a wrong thought. I can show you scorecards where people have given more time, have overthought, overanalyzed, gotten the question wrong, and did poorly in the last questions also, did poorly in the beginning also, and the scores have plummeted like anything. You cannot use this strategy unless you are primed to be consistent. Your understanding is so good that you can get any question right, provided you're not rushing. So all I'm saying is give each question its due time. Don't give extra time. Don't give less time. The problem is with giving less time. A lot of people try to rush through the questions. You should not be doing that. If a question is hard, it's hard. If needed, mark the last 4 questions randomly. Try not to make consecutive mistakes except for the end, obviously. Like in the end, you can do that. That's not a problem. Never leave questions unattempted. Unattempted questions in GMAT are penalized more heavily than getting them wrong. So keep last 30-40 seconds to complete the test. Please bear it in mind. When I say 15-16 questions, I'm telling you very clearly, don't imagine that I just need to attempt 15-16. You need to attempt all 20. 15-16 properly. Last 30-40 seconds or 1 minute you can keep for just marking the last 4. And obviously, if you're able to attempt all 20 very well, you're probably going to get an 88, 89, 90 in DI. Who knows? I'm not saying you can't get there. But if a target is up to 85, this is a perfect strategy. And try these strategies on a few mocks beforehand. Okay? And I'm reiterating, guys, does having more time for the first 16 questions solve the problem? No, don't think so. Identify the core reason why you are getting questions wrong, why you are taking more time. There is a possibility that your process is flawed. I work with like hundreds of students. I do private tutoring for GMAT as well, and I've worked with so many students, help them achieve great scores in the GMAT. And when I sit with them and when I study and I see them solving questions, the most common thing that I see with them is they are not using the right approach at all. They don't approach the questions right. The process is flawed, because of which they end up wasting a lot of time in questions on unnecessary places. So if you are taking extra time, your accuracy is low. Because of that, just by giving extra time, nothing is going to change. This strategy can only help you score well if you are prepared fundamentally. Fundamental preparation is correct. Okay, so that's what you need to think about. So in case you want to talk to me, you want to understand how we can help you in your GMAT journey, how GMATWhiz can help you. So we do both online courses as well as private tutoring. You can reach out to us, our team, on using this link. Slots will be slightly difficult to get. You might have to wait a little because our slots are generally booked in advance. But feel free to reach out if you need to. If you want to get support from our team, you'll get great support. And we have some rave reviews on GMAT Club. You'll see some great success stories, some results. But if you want to reach out to us, feel free to do that using this link, guys. Okay. So this is what you need to do. This is how you need to think. First 15, 16 questions. And that was a game changer for Ria. Ria improved her score from 615 to 715 in just 15 days. She was able to apply to some great schools, has got interview invites already from some of the top schools. Is still waiting for the results to finally arrive. But yeah, she was a great score improvement happened in just 15 days because of some of these strategies. In case you want to watch a debrief, you can see the link in the chat. I have given that already, guys, in the chat. You can reach out to the link and check it out. Now let's move our attention to verbal. Okay. Now I knew many of you were talking about verbal, what happens in quant. So let's talk about verbal, guys. Okay. So the story, in short, is not very different for verbal, to be honest. Okay. But let's see how it is. Now you see these two scorecards on your screen. Both guys have made 6 mistakes on the left as well as on the right. Now, because of your understanding of DI, I'm pretty sure that you would have understood that the person on the left has scored lower than the person on the right. But how much lower are we talking about? We are talking about a difference of 70 percentile to 91 percentile with the exact same number of mistakes. Just because, again, if you look at 2/3 of the test, which is around the 16th question, this guy has made 5 errors in the first 2/3 of the test, and he has 1 error in the last part of the test, basically. And over here, if you see, this person had just made 2 errors and majority of the mistakes in the last part, and that makes a huge difference, basically, in the scores. Now, if you look at another scorecard, okay, this person on the left, I'm keeping same, 91 percentile, verbal 84. On the right, you see another scorecard. This guy, 97 percentile, verbal 86. This is the scorecard of Shrikar, the guy I was talking about who improved his verbal score, if I remember correctly, from a 78 or 79 to 86 in just 15 days, guys, just 15 days. And one of the things he changed was that initially he was not investing enough time into reading the question stem properly. He was rushing through the questions to be able to complete the test, and he was able to complete the test, but only got a verbal 79. And then he improved his reading strategies. He worked on his reading strategies, he worked on his comprehension style, and also changed his test taking strategy to focus on the initial set of questions and did those questions well. Obviously, he also got lucky with some questions in the end where he randomly marked. And in verbal, you can actually get lucky with some questions if you just guess B or C, because most of the answers are B or C usually in verbal. You can get lucky. And you can see the score was verbal 86, 97 percentile, because he did not make many mistakes in the beginning. So that's also very evidently clear over here. If you want a high score in verbal, be top heavy, do top heavy investment. So what is the question pattern that we see in verbal in the last 3 months? What we see, the question pattern in the last 3 months, is that first 5 questions are CR questions. Again, this is there for like 99% of the people I have interacted with. So out of the 300 people I've seen the scorecard for, possibly there's just 1 or 2 I've seen 4 CR questions in the beginning, or 3 CR questions in the beginning. But most of them, like, it's a very high percentage of people getting 5 CR questions, followed by 12 to 13 RC questions. Like, in most of the cases, it's 4 RCs back to back, around 13 questions. Some people get 1 CR question between the four RCs, like some get one CR question after the second RC, between the second and third RC. Some people get it between the third and fourth RC. Most of them get it in the end, like the next CR questions in the end itself, like they get RCs back to back, back to back, back to back, which is a great thing in my opinion. And then in the end, you get 5 to 6 CRs. So if you understand the strategy, yes, Arshdeep, you're right. He did not invest enough any time, honestly, in the last 6 questions or so. Yeah, Hasib, I am 100% sure. I don't say things if I'm not 100% sure about it. Okay. I have seen 300 scorecards in the last 3 months. As I said, there are like 2, 3 of them where I've seen the pattern being broken, but that's a very small number. And this is the data for last 3 months. This was not happening earlier. This is happening in the recent time. Okay. So that's the thing. Now, if you understand this, now why am I telling you this is because if you relate this with what we have seen in the scorecards, where we need to start right, then certain things you have to understand is your focus should be on the first 18 questions. And what are those first 18 questions? These are the first 18 questions. If your target is up to 86, that's what you need to focus on. And again, guys, don't understand overall here that I am telling you that just by giving extra time you're going to get a great score. Please don't assume that. I am not telling you that. You need to be able to do things consistently. See, getting 17, 18 questions right back to back is not a cakewalk. Not a cakewalk. Even if you have extra time, don't think about it. You need to have a very good understanding of the text, of the question type. So you need to be at a very good stage to be able to achieve this. But that's the best way to kind of put yourself for a high score. So first thing you need to do is start scoring on the critical reasoning questions. Proper pre-thinking is required for that. You can afford one mistake in the first 5, still get a good score. Again, remember, this guy Shrikar got one mistake at the second question. So you can afford to make one mistake. And I'm not just saying because of this one student. I'm saying this based on other scorecards also that I've seen. So you can afford to make one mistake in the first 5, not a problem, but make sure that you follow pre-thinking approach properly. That's a very, very important approach, which leads to high scores consistently. But then comes the real beast, which is RC. Be consistent in RCs. If you're not consistent in RCs, you will not get a high score. The RCs hold the key because there are like 3 questions in a passage or 4 questions in a passage. You get that right, you nail it. So you need to have a very strong understanding of the passage to be able to achieve that consistency. So consistency is the key here. If you skim through the passage, if you don't understand the passage completely, there is no chance you're getting that kind of consistency in RC questions. And it's the easiest question type, in my opinion, to get consistency because all the information that you need to answer the question is right there. So invest time in reading. Invest time in reading. That's where people go wrong. They think they need to save time. And in order to save time, what most people do is they read very quickly in the first go. Very quickly in the first go. And when they read very quickly in the first go, they might be able to read the passage in 2-3 minutes. But they only have a rough idea of what's mentioned. And when they have a rough idea of what's mentioned, they end up rereading when they move to choices. Now, when you end up rereading in the choices, what happens is that you will end up spending almost 1.5 minutes per question. Now, if you're spending 1.5 minutes per question and you calculate your overall time, there are like 3 or 4 questions in an RC, you end up spending 8 to 9 minutes per passage. Around 5 minutes on the questions and 2 to 3 minutes on the passage reading. 8 to 9 minutes you're spending and you're still ending up with a lower score. On the other hand, people who score 705 or more, they read the passage properly the first time. They might spend 4 minutes or 5 minutes in doing so, but when they do that, they have a very, very clear understanding of the passage and they're able to eliminate choices confidently, spending just 40 seconds per question. The outcome of all of this is when you do all of this, your time taken to solve the passage is also lower actually. And get a much higher accuracy. So RCs are very critical if you want to really do well on GMAT verbal. Now, there are certain skills that you need to be able to achieve that level of consistency in RC. When you're reading, there are a lot of things that you need to keep in mind. Where to pause, taking care of complicated words. Many times you'll see very complex terms there. How do you understand? How do you utilize the context to understand those words? being able to understand what is the difference between a fact and an opinion, and not just able to understand that, being able to differentiate that. You need to make sure that you spend time and energy to figure out the difference between a fact and an opinion, and also differentiate an author's opinion from a third party opinion. Now again, a lot of this content, like, is obviously a lot of deep content is here. You need to develop a lot of these strategies by focusing on all these areas, and for that, in GMATWhiz, in reading comprehension, our entire unit 1 is focused on involved and evolved reading. There is around 8 to 9 hours of content just focused on teaching you these steps, these strategies. How do you read the passage? How do you understand the author's opinion? How do you differentiate between a fact and an opinion? How do you understand the intent of the author? All these things are taught in our course in a very, very detailed fashion. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying that there is no course in the world which goes more in depth into reading skills for RC than GMATWhiz. So we go very deep into the reading skills. We have dedicated units for that. We teach you one skill at a time, help you apply that in a question, help you see the solutions, help you understand how you apply the skill, where are the gaps, and then you build up from there. So in case you want to check out our free trial, you can learn some of the skills in our free trial also. There is a link which I have given in the chat. You can use that and register, create a free account, and check it out also. Okay, but important to learn these skills properly, understand the author's opinion, understand other parties' opinion, because in many cases GMAT will give you questions where they will just ask you which of the following is most likely true as per the author, but you might pick up an option which is true as per other parties, basically. Okay, so there's a question Arshit has: is GMAT tougher than CAT? It depends. If you're weak, verbal is the poorest section, GMAT will be tougher for you. If you're very good in quant and DI and decently good in verbal, it might be easier also, because like it's much more difficult in verbal than GMAT, like CAT. And the DI section of GMAT also is not just quant heavy or logic heavy, it's also verbal heavy. So you need to be very good at reading things. And obviously, as Free Soul is saying, it's an adaptive test also. But yes, since I have taken both the tests, GMAT and CAT, and I've done really well on both, so I can give you a fair idea about this. So I think major differences in that particular part, that if your verbal is a weaker section, you'll find GMAT to be more difficult. But again, there is one more small thing with GMAT. What I like about GMAT verbal is that GMAT verbal is more logical than CAT verbal. So if you're a logical person, you might as well do better in GMAT. So give it a try, study, take a few mocks, you'll understand that yourself also. Okay, so my viewpoint is, if you really want to do well in GMAT verbal, you have to focus on developing skill over accuracy. So if you're thinking skill, it is an accuracy game, it's not an accuracy game. You should be able to get questions of any difficulty level correct. So if you want to get to a 700 plus in verbal, like in GMAT, in verbal you need to get a very high accuracy on easy and medium questions, and then the algorithm will give you hard questions. So what my understanding is that the hard questions in the GMAT Focus edition start coming around the 8th or 9th question. Like there will be one passage which will be really tough, and then you need to really do well on that passage as well. And for that, you need to develop the right skills, the right process of solving questions, which is what I was talking about for RC. Now, what it's important is that when you are solving a question, like after you've solved a question, let's say for example, this is a critical reasoning question. Okay, this is the argument of CR. This is your question, and this is your answer choices. Now, what a lot of people do is when they are preparing, please understand, you cannot really improve your process of solving on the day of the test. You have to improve that before getting into the test. So when they are preparing, many people, when they look at the solutions, they just look at the answer analysis, like option analysis, A, B, C, D, E, why A is right, B is wrong, C is wrong, D is wrong, and E is wrong. They just look at that. But what I want you to really do, if you really want to achieve that consistency in verbal, you need to review the solutions, not just from options perspective, but even from STEM perspective. So if you notice, this first sentence is talking about these are arguments supported by evidences till 1000. So in the solutions in GMATWhiz, we provide detailed analysis of each sentence. That okay, this sentence, this is what you should have understood from this. This sentence, this is what you should have understood, and this is the inference that you should have drawn. Then from this sentence, this is your inference, this is your conclusion. So what I'm saying is that when you're preparing, if you want to achieve that level of consistency in your results in verbal, it's very important that when you look at the solutions, don't just look at the option analysis, Also see whether you understood the argument or the passage completely. Because trust me, if you don't understand the argument or the passage, there's no chance you can get the answer right consistently. You might get it right sometimes, sometimes you'll get it wrong. So please spend time on understanding where you went wrong. Try to tally with the analysis of each line and develop this reading style that I will analyze each line. Now, you might think this will take extra time. It won't take extra time, trust me. You will invest more time in the beginning of the test, but later on, you will automatically save time because you'll need to spend less time on option analysis. Okay, eventually. So we have this concept boosters in our course where to help you achieve this objective of looking at the solutions and learning from the solutions, we give you one question at a time in the concept booster to solve, and then we give you the solution of the question in a very detailed way, and only after that you get to the next question. So idea is when you figure out your gaps in the process of application, and then you go to the question number 2 basically, and then you are able to apply the learnings of the on the next question, then follow the same process, go back to the third question, apply the learning on the third question, and in this way you are gonna automatically develop a lot of like great skills in applying the concept in the process properly by iterative learning. Okay, so make sure that you use the concept boosters of GMATWhiz. Those of you who are GMATWhiz students very effectively. This is one of the best things that you can do. Okay, now let's come to Quant. Now, Quant, unfortunately, is not as accommodating as DI and verbal are. So if you remember, I showed you the scorecard of Keshav, the guy who scored a 705 with a quant 88. So this scorecard is of a guy who has scored a quant 88, which is the 95th percentile with 2 mistakes. The thing with quant is that if you make mistakes in the beginning of the test, and some mistakes here, some mistakes here, like even if there are like just 4 or 5 mistakes, you can still end up with a quant 80. Like if you want to get into the quant 85 plus category, like your first 7 8 questions should be correct mostly, and 2 or 3 mistakes you can do in the end and still get there. So it depends on how many mistakes you do in the beginning, that actually drives the score, which is the case with other places also. But unlike other places in quant, you need to do very well in the end also to have a very high score, a competitive score, to be honest. So in quant, the test taking strategy is simple. You need to get, should not be getting any of the first 3 questions wrong. That's really, really bad. It punishes you very badly. So don't get the first 3 questions wrong. And obviously, you cannot think of not getting a question wrong and not get it wrong. It's not like that. It doesn't work that way. All I'm trying to say is don't be like too protective about the first 3 questions, but at the same time, don't take them leniently. I've seen people getting an easy question in the first 3 and just doing it very quickly, moving ahead to the next question and realizing later that I just missed one case. Don't do that. Don't take them lightly. Make mistakes as late as possible in quant. The earlier you make mistake, it punishes you more. So I don't want you to be making mistakes early. In fact, if you are running behind time, one methodology that I recommend to follow is that, let's say, even if you are in a situation where you have 15 questions and 20 minutes remaining, you should not look at it as, okay, I have just 1.2 or 1.3 minutes per question, I will do it in a rush way. No, just divide the time remaining by 2. So divide this time remaining by 2 and think about getting 10 questions right. Okay. Now, obviously, you'll most likely not be in this situation. You probably might get into a position like this. And I've seen a lot of people panic here, thinking they have done less than half of the test and consumed more than half of the time. But don't think it this way. Trust me, guys. If you divide this by 2, you can still do 10 questions. Make 2 mistakes in the end. That's okay. You can still push your score to a 86, 87 by getting the last 2 wrong and doing the remaining correctly. So don't make a mistake of doing questions in a rushed way in quant. It is very bad. Do the mistakes as late as possible. And trust me, I've seen in the last 5 questions, people getting few easy questions also. I'm talking about people who score a quant 90 also, quant 89, quant 88 also, who do really well. I've spoken to like hundreds of students. I can't imagine how many people I speak to on a regular basis. And they tell me all this. They always tell me there were like some cakewalks. I can't tell you exact questions of GMAT, but I've heard some really easy questions coming. Students sometimes tell me like what kind of questions they get. Like these are like this is a simple type I got. This is the type of question I got. So those questions, some of them are like 2 or 3 questions, sometimes are very easy in the last 5 also. So if you're running behind time, you're thinking you're running behind time, but you're not realizing that there could be a 30-second, 1 minute question lying in the last 5 also. So don't push yourself, make mistakes as late as possible. And to get yourself prepared for this, it's very important that you get the easy and medium questions right from all areas, including your weak areas as well. Okay, because you don't have control over which question types are going to come feature in the first part of the test. So make sure that you are prepared to tackle easy and medium questions from all topics, including PNC and probability, because that will automatically maximize your score, guys. Okay, so make sure you do that. So I will now talk about the key takeaways from the entire session, but a lot of people asked about the section order. So let me tell you guys, my opinion, the section order is like, there are two thought processes in the section order. If you are someone who he's very focused from the get-go, okay, you are very focused from the get-go and you can get started right away, and you lose focus, you lose energy as you move forward, it is better to start with your weakest section first. Okay, then your stronger section, and you can go to the strongest section afterwards. Okay, on the other hand, if you're someone who wants to be very motivated throughout the test, if you feel demotivated, if you don't do well in the test, then first section should be your strongest section, then you should go to the stronger section, and eventually you should do your weaker section. Okay, that's how you should go about this. I am personally a very strong like supporter of the first strategy, the focus strategy. And there is a lot of myth going around in the air that GMAT is section level adaptive, you should start with your strongest section. Trust me guys, I've seen scorecards, I've seen student results which are completely opposite, which are completely disproving this thing that it's section level adaptive. GMAT has not said anything on that part. I don't believe it. I've seen people not like I've seen a person do get a verbal 79, which is like a very low score, less than 60 percentile, and get a quant 89. And he was doing the section in this order where he made a couple of mistakes in quant. So it is not possible that a section adaptive test will behave in this way. If he scored poorly in the first section, his quant questions should have been much easier, and there's no chance he can get to that kind of a score with those mistakes, basically. So I don't think it's section level adaptive. So I would say follow one of these, and one of the best ways to do this is you try both these orders in a couple of mocks yourself and see which one is comfortable for you. So whatever is comfortable for you is what you should stick with, basically. When to take break in approach one. So see, I recommend taking a break after usually quant, because I feel that unless you're doing quant at the end, that's a separate thing. Because I feel that after quant, your mind is very puzzled. So if you take a break after quant, you allow your mind to settle down a little bit for the next section, to be able to focus on the next section. So ideally, I recommend the break after the quant section or after the DI section. One of these two, basically, is what I would recommend. Okay. Now, let me summarize the takeaways from there. First of all, devoting extra time doesn't lead to high accuracy. Please understand that. Your assumption in this case is you know how to get the questions correct consistently. The only issue is timing. Trust me, my experience says otherwise. Your problem is your process. If you're not getting the questions right consistently, even if you put extra time, you will not be able to solve questions, because obviously you cannot put 5 minutes per question, right? You still have very limited time. So improve your approach, get your approach in place. In your practice phase itself, you try to reduce your time taker per question by identifying your exact pain areas and working on them. And do not change your strategies on the day of the test. Whatever strategies I'm recommending, please apply them on a few mocks. Please make sure that you stick to those strategies. Please see whether it worked for you and then stick to those strategies. If you're under time pressure, skip questions selectively and do it as late as possible in the test. Don't do it in the beginning of the test. And if you feel anxious during the test, take those strategic timeouts. Those really help you in actually doing well on the test. And try to get a streak of consecutive questions correct. The bigger the streak, the higher your score is going to be. Trust me on that particular part. There's the best thing that you can do on the GMAT to yourself. And spend more time on reading the questions. Don't cut any corners there. That's the worst thing to do. And the last thing is, no test taking strategy works if you're not prepared for the test. No one can save you guys. No one can. Trust me. Okay. So that's all about the test taking strategy for GMAT Focus. I've tried my best to give you some amazing inputs into it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the session. If you did enjoy this, do give it a like, do give it click on the share button, share it with your friends, and do subscribe to GMAT Club channel for more such videos. And you can even check out our channel GMATWhiz, where you can check out some of the great content that we share with students. But if you have any questions, I'm opening it up for an open-ended Q&A. Feel free to write to me. My email ID is there. If you have any questions, you can also WhatsApp me on text. But yeah, just be patient. I get a lot of text sometimes, so I'll be replying to you. But yeah, you can reach out to me on WhatsApp as well. And I'll also share the link to, like, in case you want to understand more about our services, understand how our team can help you get the score, your dream score. Feel free to reach out to us. I'll share the link for that as well in just a while, basically. And please keep your questions coming. I'm going to be here for 5 minutes or so. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. And yes, if you want to connect with me later, like understand how we can help you, feel free to use this link to schedule a call on my calendar. Okay. So Arshdeep says, I have my exam next month. We'll try mocks with this strategy. Have a nice one. Thank you, Arshdeep. Happy to know that the strategies gave you some inputs about how you can go ahead with this. But in case you face any more challenges, feel free to reach out. Happy to guide. Currently scoring Quant 46 percentile, verbal 98, DI 66, exam in 3 days, suggestion for a quick fix. Alessandro, honestly, there are no magic tricks on the GMAT. You can apply some of the strategies that I told you today, but just make sure that you do it on a mock before the test, because changing things in the last 3 days of the test, I don't recommend doing that. But if in case your test doesn't go well and if you need more inputs, because looking at your score, there is a possibility there are some fundamental gaps in Quant and DI that need to be fixed, because I can definitely see your verbal score rubbing off on DI, giving you some benefit on DI, but the Quant score is pulling the DI down and itself down, obviously. So there is some work that is needed there. So feel free to reach out to us. We might be able to help you through us courses, our tutoring options, and get you a great score. So yeah, but for 3 days, I would say you can apply the strategies on a few mocks before going forward and see if it works for you. How does changing answer later affect the score? So Dinesh, it does affect the score. So just to be clear, getting it right in the first go, getting it right straight away is not same as changing and getting it right. Let me tell you. Okay, and this is backed by data, guys. This is backed by data. It's not same as that. I've seen data points, I've seen scorecards where there's no way to explain the score the student has got, except for the fact that you change just few answers in the beginning of the test. Later at the end, like some questions in the beginning which were there, they changed the answers to those. So it's not the same. And I've in fact this is my feeling and experience based on data, that if you change your answer to the wrong answer, there is a penalty for it as well. This is my feeling. So never change the answer unless you're 100% sure about it. Please bear that in mind. Okay. Let me take the next question. Ibrahim says Quant is easy for me. Should I start with Quant, then verbal, and finally DI, because DI is harder? So that depends on what you feel right with. If you want motivation in the beginning, you can start with Quant. But I'm a very strong proponent of starting with a weaker section, because I feel if you are very strong in one area, even if you are a little fatigued in that, you can still do well on it, basically. So it's better to start the weakest section and do well on that. Is solving and analyzing in depth for DI and verbal from OG and OJ additional review enough for both the sections? See, again, Farhan, OG and OG additional review does not have too many hard questions. It's a great question material book, definitely, but they don't have too many hard questions. And please understand, it's not just about practice. It's also about how you're solving questions. So if your process is right, practicing helps. But if your process is not right, then the practicing might not help as much. Okay. EG tests are really very tough. How representative are these mocks to the real GMAT focus? So Mohit, I have a personal viewpoint on that. I would not want to share that viewpoint over here for a certain reason, basically. But if you want to reach out to me and talk to me about it, I'm happy to share my thoughts on that. Ritam says, what are the prices of the courses? So again, Ritam, we have different options. We have our self-paced online courses starting from as low as $149. Our private tutoring starts from as low as like $499. If you want to check out our courses, you can go to our website and check it out. I'll also send you the link here, basically. So if you want to check out GMATWhiz online courses, you can do it by using this link. And in case you want to check out our private tutoring option, I'll just link for that as well. So you can check out the options here, basically, using this links. And again, all of this is available on our website. You can easily get all the information from there. And if you have any other questions about our services, feel free to schedule a call with our team we'll be happy to guide you on those details. Okay. So I've just given the links in the chat, guys. You can use this. This is the link for our online courses. You can check it out. And this is the link for our private tutoring. Both of these are in the chat, by the way. How to improve comprehension of RC passage. So free sol, again, in RC passages, it's all about being focused. And there are like multiple steps involved, as I was telling you. It is about breaking and reading, contextualizing what you read with the next part of the passage, ensuring that you would differentiate between a fact and an opinion, try to differentiate between an author's opinion and a third party opinion. Then as you complete a paragraph, do paragraph summaries, try to understand what the paragraph is talking. Think about the structure of the passage, what is there in first para, second para, third para. Then think about the main point, and then you attack the questions. If you do all this before attacking the questions, trust me, questions will be a cakewalk for you. You'll be very confident about answering them. The first section can affect the next sections in terms of level of questions. I don't think so, Abraham. I don't have any data to support that. That's a claim some people are making. GMAT has not supported that claim. I don't have data to support that claim. I see data which is actually against that claim also. Can you mention some of the best mocks? I'm really confused. So Mohit, the best mock right now, I would say, is official mocks. Like there's nothing better than them. GMAT Club tests are also pretty good. And if you are a GMATWhiz student, you get access to GMAT Club tests as well because we are partners on GMAT Club. Vasu, hi sir, I prepared for CAT. How much is GMAT DI different from CAT DILR? So I would say it's pretty different because of the fact that GMAT DI is testing you on a lot more of verbal reasoning as well. It's a combination of both verbal reasoning and logical reasoning is what I would say. And in CAT, it's like one set with 4 questions. Here it is individual sets in many cases. Just MSR is one set with multiple questions. So it makes it slightly different. But the good thing with GMAT DI is, again, you have to just do 15, 16 questions. So it's slightly different. If you work on your verbal skills, you will not face the challenge. Okay, there are a lot of mocks which are computer adaptive. Even the mocks that we offer as part of our package is computer adaptive, which is sourced from 800 score. There are a lot of mocks that are computer adaptive, but honestly, official mocks are the best mocks as of now. GMAT skills transfer to GRE, not all or completely. GRE is slightly different in terms of what it tests in verbal. 2 MSR sets coming too often, not too often, very rarely, like less than 10% people we see reporting more than 2 MSRs, like more than 1 MSR set, which is 2 MSR, and usually one set is easier in that case. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. I know you have a lot of questions, and I would want to tackle those, but there's a limitation of time also that I have. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. You have all the details, and I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I tried my best to give you as many insights as possible, and we will keep researching more on GMAT. We keep taking the GMAT also some few times, our experts, me, my team, and we come up with more insights. And as we get to know more, we will definitely do more of these sessions. So stay tuned with GMATWhiz, and you'll get to learn more and more. And do share this video with your friends and give it a like if you really liked it. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night if you're in India, and good morning and good afternoon if you're elsewhere. So thank you guys for being here today. Thank you so much.